Leviathan would not be revealing itself right now if it didn't have to. If they had total control of the election process, total control of the general election, if they could just say flip a switch and put whoever they wanted in office, they would just do that. You would not see any of these extreme measures being reached to if they could just flip the switch. So there's a problem. Something's broken down. Something has gone wrong, because I think what they're really terrified of is a revolt of the people.
Yeah, and I think they've got a lot of internal conflict too.
Yes.
I mean, it's not clear to me. I think Obama has more power than Hillary Clinton in the Democratic Party, but I'm not certain of that. But
he's got the money on his side. So the Clintons have always had name, but they've never had money.
Right.
And so that's why they're obsessed with money. That's why they do Clinton Foundation. That's why Viktor Pinchuk and the Ukrainian oligarchs become the number one for the Clinton Foundation, et cetera, because they have to. Obama, he's got 50 million here. He's got 150 million there. Right. Like, he's taken care of. He's spoken for, which, by the way, is also one of the reasons that that you don't really see Michelle Obama making any moves to getting into the presidency, because all of a sudden you'd have to explain where the money's coming from.
Well, that's exactly right. And that'd be a massive downgrade for her anyway. So what happens next? Biden, well, somebody resigns on his behalf in any case, or this post appears on X, but he does not endorse anybody. And that's followed shortly by his endorsement of Kamala Harris, Carmela, or whatever we're calling her now. And
endorsement attributed to him.
Right. Exactly right. So does she get it? Like, where do we go from here?
So there's a few ways to look at it. Ultimately, here's where we go, because this is what we've seen play out in Russia. We've seen it played out in the Soviet Union. So it's like we have to do Kremlinology. Remember the old Kremlinology of the Cold War? Yeah. That's what we have to do for our own government.
Is Andropov dead or not?
Is Andropov dead? Is Stalin dead? Is this? Don't tell the people until we have a line of succession, right? First scene of Death of Stalin.
Yeah.
And so, quick, grab his Twitter account, something like that.
Yeah.
And so what you would then do next is you would talk about line of succession. And then you might say, create a series of articles talking about conversations that were had before the handover was taken. You might say, leak some stories. You might have someone running around, but you would never actually have Jill Biden, because she's too upset and she's too angry about what's going on. That's why they can't talk to her. You'd never have Joe Biden, because of course he's not 100% on board with this, at least yet. We have ways of correcting you, and he's still kind of going through that process. None of the family members would at that point, other than Frank, of course, who's coming out and going completely off script here.
The drunk uncle, yeah.
And then you've got to smear, okay, he's drunk uncle, he's alcoholic, don't listen to him, don't listen to that, only listen to us. You must only listen to us. So narrative control already. And what you're going to see is whoever is the most ruthless, the most brutal, the most well-connected, and whoever's most willing to knife each other in the back will rise to power. So we're in the Ouroboros snake eating his own tail moment that's going on right now. But keep in mind that another snake is always around and another snake is always nearby. That's
so the operative assumption for people like me who are, watching but not Democrats and maybe not as informed about what the Democratic Party really is as we should be, is that, they have to go with Kamala because she's sort of black, sort of Indian, and a woman for DEI reasons.
It's tough for them to pass her over because of that.
Well, you would think that. I mean, that's my read on it. I mean, she's a moron in a job she doesn't deserve. That's the whole point of DEI, is to elevate people who don't deserve their jobs to positions of power, obviously. And that they have to kind of roll with that because the constituencies within the party will flip out if they don't pick her. I've just assumed that from day one. That's why she's such a problem.
Well,
but now I'm starting to think,
in 2020, she was never the original pick to begin with.
Oh, I'm aware. Yeah.
Right? This is everything you're describing is why she was picked then, because in the George Floyd moment during the racial reckoning, as a sailor puts it, that, he wanted like Klobuchar, or he was even talking about Gretchen Whitmer back then in 2020. But then George Floyd happens, they go full BLM, and suddenly it's okay. We've got to pick someone that, checks all these boxes.
For sure. And I thought that was, a mistake in that it puts them in a box that it's hard to get out of. But now I'm thinking, because I think we've just watched like the most brutal exercise of raw, undisguised power I've ever seen in this country, that they're not hemmed in by that. Like, they really don't care. They don't care what their own constituencies think. They can just install somebody. And because the Democratic Party is not an ideological movement, it's just a bunch of people clustered together for power.
Leftism is not ideological.
That's exactly right.
It's never been. It's a tactic.
Right. And spiritual, I would say also, but whatever, right. But it's certainly not ideological. It doesn't even matter what the ideas are. But at this point, they can kind of put anyone in. And if they think Gavin Newsom has the best shot and he's a white man, but like, so what?